Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Necrofear deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one because I'm going to be doing Necrofear and Destiny board in the same deck. So you guys have been requesting this one a lot recently, and I'm really excited to show you guys this. And the extra deck is something actually really interesting that I've done with this. And I really have to say I've outdone myself a little bit with this one. So without further ado guys, let's get straight into this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So this deck is going to be super interesting, and I'm really excited to show you this. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of the new Cursed Necrofear. You really don't need any more than 2 of it because it's easily searchable with Dark Spirit Mastery. So you really only just play the 2 copies of it. Its effect is basically that it cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by a card effect. Keyword, by a card effect. Then it has the ability that you can target 3 of your banished fiend monsters in your graveyard, or 3 of your banished fiend monsters, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, shuffle those banished fiends back into the deck. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was destroyed in your main monster zone by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon this card from your graveyard, then you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of face-up continuous spell and trap cards you control, which really works well with Destiny board. I know they kind of made it for that, but it works a lot better than the old Necrofear. And speaking of the older Necrofear, I am actually going to be playing 2 copies of Dark Necrofear because it works really well with the Cursed Necrofear. Because what you're trying to do is banish your monsters to the graveyard, and after you banish them, what you're really trying to do is use her first to banish the 3, and then put the banished 3 back in deck with Cursed Necrofear and get them both out at the same time, which is actually extremely easy to do in this deck. Then I play 2 copies of Dark Spirit of Malice. I really don't feel like 3 is necessary, but you can play 3 if you want to play 3. I playtested a little bit at 3, but I really kind of tried to speed the deck up a little bit, where it was going more for Dark Sanctuary and less for that. But basically what Dark Spirit of Malice does is when your opponent activates a card effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 level 8 fiend monster in your grave and special summon it, but its effects are negated. If a level 8 fiend monster is sent to the graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can add this card back to your hand. So if they leave the field, you just roll them over. So you really only ever need to get 1 of each, which is Dark Spirit of Banishment and Dark Spirit of Malice and Dark Spirit of Banishment. So Dark Spirit of Banishment is also really good in here, because basically what this one does is the same thing as Dark Spirit of Malice, but if they're targeted, if your opponent's monster declares an attack at the start of the damage step, you can send this card from the graveyard hand to the grave, and then target a level 8 fiend monster in your grave, and then special summon it, but its effects are negated. So that's not that big of a deal if their effects are negated, because basically Dark Necrofear and Cursed Necrofear's effects only activate in the graveyard. Then I play 3 copies of Battle Fader because it does banish itself. This card is extremely powerful to have in the deck because you just don't want to get attacked directly in this deck. And I do have a lot of other cards that really get you into Destiny board as quickly as possible. So basically what this card does is when your opponent attacks you directly while you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Or when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in the battle phase, and then when it leaves the field, banish it, which really helps out with Cursed Necrofear. So that's actually all the monsters I'm playing in the deck. You don't need any other monsters in here at all. That's really it. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So we're playing a lot of spells in the deck. So we're going to be playing 1 copy of Terraforming just to get into our copy of Dark Sanctuary, because the deck is basically focused around Dark Sanctuary. 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality is here because it's extremely easy, and you're not worried about special summoning during your turn. If you special summon the spirit messages off of the copies of Dark Sanctuary, you're never going to special summon them on your turn, and you're never going to special summon a monster on your turn except with Dark Necrofear and Cursed Necrofear, and it's not that big of a deal to wait a turn if you've got Pot of Duality to dig into the deck. 3 copies of Dark Spirit Mastery. I feel like this card is one of the best searchers in the entire deck. Dark Spirit Mastery is you discard a card to add a Destiny board or a level 8 fiend monster from your deck to your hand. And you banish this card from your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, to place any number of Destiny board and or Spirit Message cards with different names from your hand or graveyard on the bottom of the deck in any order, and then draw the same number of cards you put on the bottom and top of your deck. So if you do end up having any of your Spirit Messages or Destiny board, any 5 of them in the graveyard, you can just instantly put them back and then draw up to 5 cards, which is extremely powerful to be able to draw those extra cards. Then I play 3 copies of Dark Sanctuary. Dark Sanctuary keeps us alive. Dark Sanctuary basically says if a Spirit Message monster would be summoned, or Spirit Message card would be placed on your field, you can special summon it to your side of the field with a 0/0 instead, and if you do, it's unaffected by card effects except Destiny Board and cannot be targeted for card effects. And cannot be targeted for attacks, but it does not prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you toss a coin, and if the result is heads, negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the monster your opponent controls attack. Which can be really powerful, because you're just trying to make it so your opponent you have multiple win conditions in the deck. You're either going to beat your opponent down with Necrofears, you're going to burn them out with Dark Sanctuary, or you're going to activate Destiny Board and fulfill the Destiny Board. You can play this deck multiple ways, but I like playing the Dark Sanctuary kind of stall version of the deck, where you're just kind of trying to stall your opponent out with Dark Sanctuary until you either get the Destiny Board or you get your opponent low enough to hit them with Necrofear to win. Then I play 3 copies of Trade-In. Now you can drop the Trade-Ins if you don't feel like you're playing enough of the Dark monsters or enough level 8s, which I'm only playing 4, but you're going to draw them a lot. You can drop Trade-In and play Allure of Darkness, or if you have it, a better option is Pot of Extravagance. But a really good option in this particular build is either Trade-In or the copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is another option that you can put in this position because it's such a good, card to be able to draw in other cards. So that is another option to be able to play. Either or is the option. If you feel like you're not drawing the dark monsters or the level 8 monsters enough, you always have dark monsters, and it doesn't matter if you banish them with Allure. But if you want to play Trade-In because you feel like you're going to draw into Necrofear more often, play this. So it's kind of up to you what you play. You're really playing 7 copies of Dark Necrofear because you do have the copies of the Dark Spirit Mastery, so it always makes the Trade-In live because you just discard a card, add Dark Necrofear, discard the Dark Necrofear with the Trade-In, and then if you have the Dark Spirit of Banishment in your hand, when your opponent declares an attack, you put it back in your hand, or you discard it, and then special summon the Curse Necrofear, so it makes it live. So that's why I prefer the Trade-In over the Allure. Then I play 3 copies of Super Poly, as you can probably tell by the top of my extra deck. Super Poly is extremely powerful to be able to stop your opponent from doing all sorts of stuff, and we have a plethora of targets to be able to go into with Super Poly. Then I play 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is here because you don't want to get hand trapped while you're putting your cards onto the field. And then I play the Spirit Messages, which is 1 of each, which is the Spirit Message I, N, A, and L, which spells out final. Once you get final on the field, you automatically win the duel. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So I highly recommend Super Polymerization because if you do just get something as simple as a Battle Fader and your opponent has a dark monster on the field, you can go into something like your Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and if they don't, you can always go into Mud Dragon, which is another option for you if you want to. Then for the traps, guys, to round out the deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Destiny Board because it is searchable by Dark Spirit Mastery. It's extremely easy to get out of the deck and keep on the field. When you have all 4 Spirit Messages on the field with different names placed on the field with this card, you win the duel. Once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, you can place a Spirit Message in the correct order, which is F-I-N-A-L, which spells final. And when any of your Spirit Message monsters or any of your Spirit Message cards leaves the field, send all Spirit Message cards you control and Destiny Board you control to the graveyard. Then you can banish your copy of your Dark Spirit Mastery to shuffle them all back into the deck and start over. So usually your opponent's only going to be playing at tops 2 Twin Twisters or a Galaxy Cyclone, and you do have the option, if they do hit the Destiny Board, which a lot of people will hit the Destiny Board, you do have the option to keep playing through because of that particular ability. I also am going to be playing 3 copies of Sentence of Doom. Sentence of Doom is a really good card in the deck because Sentence of Doom is basically you get to target any number of Fiend monsters that are banished or in the graveyard up to the number of Destiny Board and or Spirit Message cards you control and add them to your hand. You can send this card to the graveyard and then place 1 Spirit Message card from your hand, deck, or grave in your spell and trap card zone. This is treated as being placed as the effect of Destiny Board. So it kind of speeds up the ability of putting Destiny Board pieces on the field because these count. I always want to see Sentence of Doom because if you set 3 Sentence of Dooms, you're going to, or 2 Sentence of Dooms, you're going to win in 2 turns. because what you're going to do is activate Destiny board, and then at your opponent's end phase, you're going to put the Destiny board eye on the field, or yeah, you're going to put eye on the field, activate Sense of Doom on your turn, put N on the field, and then on your opponent's turn, at the end phase, you're going to put A on the field, and then put Sentence of Doom again, and then put L on the field, and then you win in 2 turns. It's extremely easy to do. And then I play 1 copy of Metaverse because I really want to get to Dark Sanctuary. Dark Sanctuary is extremely important to the deck because you don't want to get, you don't want to lose. And Dark Sanctuary just prevents you from losing so much easier and keeps your spirit messages out of the back row. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. You really, besides the super polys, you don't have to have an extra deck. If you don't want to play an extra deck, you can play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment in the deck to kind of prevent your opponent from doing all sorts of shenanigans against you. So if you don't want to play the super polys, play Solemn Judgment. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 1 copy of the Predaplant monster that takes 3. This card's extremely easy to make, especially if your opponent has 3 monsters on the field. You can use this as a target for your super poly. 2 copies of your Starving Man Fusion Dragon. This card's extremely easy to make all the time. Predaplant Dracostopelia. This one's also another one. It just takes a fusion monster and a dark monster. So if you're playing a dark monster and a fusion monster, if you're playing against a fusion deck, this is extremely easy to make, especially if they're playing Super Poly or something like that. Mud Dragon is another one that's really easy to make on the field because you just have to have Super Poly. Hope Harboring Dragon, Titanic Galaxy, you just make it with double Necrofear. Lancelot, kind of the same thing. Double Necrofear makes this your opponent. This card can attack your opponent directly to kind of end the game. And then when this card inflicts damage to your opponent, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And then once per turn during either player's turn, when a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, you can detach material and negate it. This card's really good to be able to negate card effects that your opponent activates to try and destroy your Necrofears and stuff like that. 1 copy of Breaksword because they're level 3. The spirits are level 3. Apotheosa, Bow of the Goddess, is another really good one because Apotheosa basically negates everything. It's kind of hard to make it, but when you do, it has a really good, being able to stop your opponent. Unicorn, Cerberus, and Phoenix, or Phoenix and Cerberus, basically just to pop cards. It's not too hard to get out Phoenix and Cerberus to pop stuff that you need to pop. Wee Witch, because everything's dark, and sometimes you need that 500 attack point of Battle Fader. The card that I make the most in this deck is actually Blockade Board Blocker. Blockade Board Blocker is, if this card is Link Summon, you can discard a card, and then during the end phase of the turn, you can add a continuous field spell or a continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand, and you can only use the effect of it once per turn. And then face-up spell cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You make this, and you put on Dark Sanctuary, and you dare your opponent to attack you, because this card protects Dark Sanctuary, and they just have to keep attacking it until finally they're either going to burn themselves out or they can't get rid of your other cards because they can't target them. Then I play 1 copy of Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is one of those cards that's really funny to put this on the field with your copy of Dark Sanctuary, because you put this on the field with Dark Sanctuary and your opponent's like, okay, either way I'm going to lose something. And this card really protects you, and it's really easy to go into with your copy of Battle Fader. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's really, really fun. I highly recommend that you guys play this. It's really easy to play around with, and it is subject to change. I might play around with it a little bit more and do some changes and update it soon. But this is kind of like a rough build that I've kind of picked up since I built it and got the cards in, and I might change a little bit. But like I said, if you want to play those Allure of Darknesses over it, be my guest. But it is a fun deck to play to get Destiny board out in 2019. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.